What's up, everybody? Long time no see. Welcome to another episode of the Smoke Room. This is going to be a good one today. We got a few things that we want to cover. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on with the World Mission Society right now. They're scrambling. They're losing so many members. So I've never seen, a time where they're having so many different educations right now. There was one that was just released on the Northeast, region, and we got all the insight on that, and we're gonna break that down. But it's just very crazy to me, seeing how everything is shifting. You're really starting to see their true colors. They don't know what to do anymore, so what they're doing is they're trying to attack people's character. They're calling they're calling the ex-members names, and they're all kinds of weird stuff, and basically to shift the focus from just answering the question, and just they're basically leading you on a wild goose chase. And we're gonna break that down today, because I think that that is one of the things that they're masters at, is trying to control the narrative and strawmanning people, right? So that's where they make their, that's their bread and butter. That's what they've always done. They've adapted, to pretty much everything, all their lies, all the failed prophecies. They always have something. Every time something comes out, every time that they're exposed, basically what they do is they release another supposed father's note, or oh, we had this letter, this picture, this handwritten note for this occasion. But it's like, if you have all this stuff, why not show it to the people before? Why wait until everything comes out and you're exposed, and then you want to basically say that there's answers for these things? Why not give the people answers up front? It's because they know that if they were to give the people all the facts up front, people would not join the World Mission Society. They would definitely not stay there as long as they have. But we're going to address those things today. And please forgive me, because I'm coming off of a, illness. I don't know if it was the flu, whatever's been going around lately, and been a little congested, still have a little bit of a cough. But yeah, I think this is important. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it. So the first thing that I want to mention is going to be about the education. I've received multiple people have basically given me the layout of what the education was about, and someone actually was courteous enough to type it out for me. And the crazy part is that during this education, let me go over some of my notes. This education lasted about 4.5 hours. Okay, so from 9 a.m. and it lasted about 4.5 hours. So that's saying something, right? And again, this is the same church that claims their Bible studies are short, or they don't keep people long. It was a 4.5 hour long study, and they were supposed to address the three missing chapters. This is something that I've been bringing up with Jordan from Great Light Studios for a while now. And other people have also mentioned the three missing chapters. It is something that is been talked about a lot. And so finally, this is supposed to be their nail in the coffin. This is supposed to shut down everybody that brings up the three missing chapters. Well, from what I understood from the people that were on the inside that sat through this education, about 30 minutes of the whole education, the 4.5 hours, was dedicated to the three missing chapters. So go figure, right? And I think that that's pretty hilarious, because again, it shows you that what they were practicing on and what they were focused on more was the victim mentality than actually giving people answers to these questions. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of these things. Also, and oh, I see somebody's coming in here. So I'm expecting Clark to hop on here. But we're gonna go ahead, and I see Mitch is on here. Let's let's bring Mitch on. My boy Michelada. What's up, Michelada?
Hey, how's it going, Edgar?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. So yeah, man, we're gonna be addressing some things tonight, and also I see Michele Colon is on the chat. I see Adam is on there, but I was just talking to Michele Colon a little bit ago, and because would you believe it if I told you that they brought up Michele Colon? And the funny thing is, I wanted to confirm that my information was correct. So I asked the people once more, did they mention Michele Colon? The answer is yes. And let me just start off with the whole Michele Colon case, right? And why they're bringing her up. They brought her up to say this is what they said. Mich- Michele Colon admitted there was no basis for her claim, and also the case was recently dismissed after 11 years. Okay, so that is a lie. That is not true. I just talked to Michele Colon. She's on the chat right now herself. You can ask her this. Victor Lozada has lied and said Michele Colon's case has been dismissed and that she willingly said that there was no basis for her claim. The funny thing is, it almost seems, and this is something Michele had mentioned to me, is that he could, this is speculation, unless he's just as dumb as a doorknob, which could be the case as well. But that he's confusing Michelle Ramirez's case with Michele Colon's case. But the reason why that is highly unlikely is because they talked about Michele Colon personally when they were talking about her case. They were talking about how she was sour, how about her relationship that she had, with the member in the church. So they were talking about Michele Colon. So unless they purposely wanted to, mention about Michele Colon and then secretly switch it up and say, by the way, Michelle's case was dismissed after 11 years, that wouldn't make any sense for them to just talk about a different Michelle without making it very clear. Both people that I talked to told me they were talking about Michele Colon. Now we know Victor Lozada and has had a bone to pick with Michele Colon for a while. All these people, they hate Michele Colon because she pretty much exposed them and continues to expose them. So I wanted to mention that because again, you're about to see through these posts that I'm going to share on the screen. You're going to see how deceitful they are, and you're going to see their true intentions. Before I get to that, Mitch, do you want to say anything?
Um, no, I think you can continue. I have a there's a lot going on around the US right now, especially with the World Messiah Church of Fraud. I mean, so many people are leaving, so much is getting exposed and revealed to us that we are able to share now. And now in America, they're also scared because now all of us are getting these books. It seems like they
Yeah.
don't like that. So this is scaring them. But also, we did a protest outside the Riverside Zion, and they had a massive education. And we have inside that Pastor Enoch said we were selling T-shirts outside, trying to make money.
That's hilarious, man.
It's
And
just funny. Like they'll spin the narrative with anything, and I have more confirmation um, from insiders inside Oklahoma um, that it's for sure confirmed, and we have a lot of evidence now that they continue to spread lies about me that I joined Daniel Park's church. So I called one of the deacons last night, and he just ignored me and hung up on me. And yeah, they just lost two families in Oklahoma as well. So two families within the last 2 weeks have left the church. Hopefully, more to be soon in Oklahoma.
that's good to hear, man. Yeah, a lot of people are leaving, and so I appreciate everybody that's working so hard to help people, regain their life back and see the lies of this place, But man, are we poking the bear because they're pissed off right now? And you know what? Let me just put this on the screen so we can just start, you know, just start exposing them because man, what you could just tell they are in their feelings.
Yeah, I tried to sign up for the blood drive in Oklahoma on March 15th, and they took me off the blood drive list, man. I was just trying to give some blood.
That's hilarious. Okay, so let's see. How can I move this out of the way? There we go. I'm gonna try to move this over here. Okay, here we go. So the education was titled "The Sin of Hatred and the Prophecy of Jonah." Okay, so let's read a little bit of this. So, matter of fact, Mitch, could you help me out, man? Like, let's just read paragraph by paragraph because my throat's a little
Yeah,
sore.
no problem. So I'll start out. It says, "The sin of hatred and the prophecy of Jonah." Opened education by saying, as mature children, we have to understand the difference between the will of God and the Word of God. Sometimes we just hear the Word of God, but don't understand the will behind it. By the slanders claiming to release the Word of God, in quotation, Word of Annsahnghong, they think they are doing you a favor, but they are just releasing His words and not His will. By the will of God, we go to heaven, not the word of God. That's kind of interesting.
So right off the back, this you could see what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to create this narrative. Now that he knows the church is being exposed, and all of keep in mind, all ex-members are doing is reading Annsahnghong's books that the World Mission Society Church of God has kept for them for all these years. So they're trying to play victim now. Victor Lozada is trying to act like a victim, adopt the victim mentality when this whole problem could have been avoided if his cult wouldn't have withheld information from their members. Now that the information is out, what are they saying? Oh, we can explain all of this away. But by the way, you shouldn't trust these slanders because these slanders are giving you the word of God, but they're not giving you the will of God. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, buddy, but you guys didn't give us the will or the word of God either because you guys didn't even give us these books. You told us they didn't exist. We had to find out on our own, right? So, and not only that, before I move on, by him saying this in the last part of that paragraph, it says, by the slanders claiming to release the words of God, words of Annsahnghong, they think they are doing you a favor, but they are just releasing his words and not his will. By the will of God, we go to heaven, not the word of God. So he is completely going against the Bible when he says, by the words of God, we cannot go to heaven. Literally, that contradicts the Bible. These people can't be serious. These people how can they claim to be prophets? Literally, John chapter 5. I'm just going to mention this one verse because I have a lot of verses written down, but I know everyone didn't come here to hear a sermon. But John chapter 5, verse 24 says, this is Jesus, very truly I tell you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life. What does the World Mission Society Church of God say? No, that's not true. That's not true at all. You have to have the will of God. Okay, one more thing. Preface of Annsahnghong's book, because you're going to see they're going to try to go into this. Who did Annsahnghong say that his books were were who did he say these books were written for, and who did he say that could understand these books? Let's see. If you look at the preface of the Green Book right here, the bottom part where it begins with now is the time, it says now is the time. Matter of fact, right above that, the sentence before that, it says, whoever reads this book with a humble mind will understand it. Wait a second, Victor Lozada. Does it say, unless Victor Lozada explains this book to me, unless Pastor Daniel Lee explains this book to me, I will not understand it? Or does Annsahnghong say whoever? Let me ask you a question, World Mission Society. When you guys go to John 6:53 and you say, whoever eats the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, is that only talking about a certain group? Or do you make it an emphasis to say whoever? Then in the same way, if Annsahnghong is that same Jesus, he's saying whoever reads this book with a humble mind will understand it. Well, I guess not. Now they changed it, right? How convenient. Now is the time of the end to gather the elect from all sides. Whoever thirsts for truth, please study this book. If you cannot understand it fully, visit us without hesitation. Face-to-face study will lead you to a better understanding. This is important to go over this little sentence before we move on, because you're going to see they're going to make a huge play off of this sentence. They are going to say that it's okay for mother to remove books and chapters from Annsahnghong's, truth books. Why? For the simple fact that he mentioned that it is better for you to have a face-to-face study. That is going to be their best argument, because mother said that if these books need to go away, it's because she wants you to come and have a face-to-face study with her. That's going to be their excuse. Notice though, in the preface, it says, now is the time of the end to gather elect from all sides. Whoever thirsts for truth, please study this book. If you cannot understand it fully, visit us without hesitation. Is it a requirement? No, it says if you cannot understand it fully, then go for a face-to-face study. Okay, why was that important? Now let's continue. Mitch, can you continue with the second paragraph, please?
Yep, no problem. It says some members have been influenced by slanderers, but this is just a repeat of Eve and the serpent in the garden of Eden. In Eden, there was a tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life. Then why didn't God call it the tree of death? It is because Satan's plan was to first start by giving them knowledge. However, there is a difference between knowledge and understanding. Satan simply just gave knowledge that they would be like God without giving them understanding. This is why the moment Eve took a bite and didn't die, she said to herself, "Ah, God was wrong and Satan was right." But she didn't understand why she didn't die. In the same way, members have been influenced by slanderers because they offer them knowledge of the truth books or events that happened without explaining and understanding. Man, this is full of lies here. This is spiritually revealing who they are as Satan's people, because no matter how hard they try, they cannot change their approach and method. But in Zion, Jeremiah 3:15, it is already God's plan to give us leaders who will give us both knowledge and understanding. It just requires training. Hebrews chapter 5, verse 14. Yeah, because the Holy Spirit can't lead us and guide us into all truth. Only the leaders of the World Messiah Church of God can.
And the same leaders that half of, not half, the majority of them never even read these books, had no idea they existed, didn't care for them, right? We saw Clark's interview, we saw Mitch's, there's already been missionary Ron. This is nothing new, people. That listen, I'm tired. Look, I'm sick. I'm tired of beating around the bush. This has been going on since the early 2000s. Miss me with all that stuff that, oh, this is new. No. You guys have lied and withheld information from the beginning. You guys knew what you were doing from the beginning. You chose to not release this information to the members because you knew, you had a good understanding of what was going to happen if this information got into the hands of members. But this information is not just any information. It's information that was written by your so-called God. So even when you accuse the members and say they give you the word of God, but they don't explain it to you, that's a nice try. but it doesn't work because even in Ansan, this is why I made sure to read the preface of Annsahnghong's book. He said, you didn't need us and they didn't need you guys either. It said, whoever studied it with a humble heart would be able to understand it. So, Victor Lozada, do you know more than Annsahnghong? I rest my case. Okay, Mitch, can you go on to the next paragraph, please?
Sure can. It says, then spiritually, where does this slander and precaution stem from? It is the sin of hatred. It is not that they hate us personally, it is that they hate our God. John 15:18. Then what fruit is reaped from the sin of hatred? It is murder. Because Satan hated God, he found a way to kill Eve. Sorry. This is okay. Because Satan hated Jesus and the Jews found a way to kill Jesus. Because the Romans hated God, they found a way to kill our brothers and sisters of the early church. Now, because the slanders hate father and mother, they are looking for a way to kill you. This is crazy. Words from Pastor Victor. It is so funny. Those slanderers claim their videos are therapy. I didn't know selling t-shirts was a part of therapy. I didn't know setting up a GoFundMe or a Patreon were therapy. Please, brothers and sisters, examine their intentions through their actions. And I have something funny to say because I think mine was the GoFundMe, but it has nothing to do with the World Messiah Church of God. It has with other groups, which is hilarious because I know they're talking about me for that one.
Yeah, and I know they're talking about me when they're talking about the t-shirts or when they're talking about the therapy or the what was it say? Yeah, I don't have any GoFundMe or Patreons, but I do post my PayPal link on the description of my
Yeah.
videos. And
I,
and
I
you
was,
know
oh, I'm
what I
sorry.
was what I was gonna say, to that is unlike the World Mission Society Church of God, I'm 100% transparent. I have no problem mentioning, what I have and what I do. So I've been doing this, and I've mentioned this before. I've been doing this since 2021, right? So when I when I came in 2021, um, and I started doing work with Great Light Studios. Then, Jordan actually offered to partner with me and pay me to work with him on Great Light Studios. I said at that time I couldn't do it, right? Because I had a lot of things, going on. I was recovering from being in a cult for a decade. Once I came out of there, you know what I mean, and I started doing my own thing and receiving emails from the jump. There was a lot of people who said, hey man, how can I help? How can I donate? How can I do this? How can I do that? And I said, no, 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 I can't do it. I can't do it. You know why? Because I had the mindset of the World Mission Society is going to accuse me of this, they're going to accuse me of that, and I was like, I cannot, the stuff that I do, how dare I sell, the gospel, how dare I sell any of the stuff that I do, right? And so I carried that for years. And so finally I realized, and this just really happened, this last year, about during half the year, I realized after talking to a lot of people, a lot of Christians, pastors, people that were mentoring me, and even families that would reach out, is like, okay, there's a lot of need for, like, let's say I need books, let's say I need any type of material, lighting, computer, whatever I might need for this work. If I need to go sit down and miss a day off of work and go meet with somebody, which I have, and there's a there's a lot of things that goes into this that a lot of people don't know. If people, work certain hours and they can't make, all the time for all the interviews, you have to cancel some, you have to say no to some of these, calls from, people's families and stuff. So it helps, having support helps. And what I realized is, you know what I mean, like it's, you have to be humble enough to accept when people want to help you, and it all depends on how you use it. But that being said, World Mission Society, I don't owe you guys an explanation. I can do whatever I want, because guess what? I'm not a member of the World Mission Society Church of God anymore. But
Yep.
unlike you, I can be transparent. You guys can't. You guys can't tell people what you guys use the money for because you guys know what you guys use the money for. Let me see the property that Daniel Lee owns, all the properties that are being bought in South Korea, under different aliases, right? Where is that money coming from? Right? Like there's some, Mitch has told his story of how much money he was given to the church. So many people that I've heard that's giving money to their church. I've seen people empty their 401ks, give it to the church. But you know what? Because I know the World Mission Society and I know how they work, I'll make a deal with you right now live. I'll sign a contract with you. I will take down my shirts. I'll take down everything. I want to accept a single donation. If if you give me all the money back that I gave to you guys, if you stop lying to the members, if you present all the truth to the members, the ones that are still there right now, let's see. I'll hold up my end of the bargain. Will you? Mitch, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, I remember I was in an editing workshop with the We Love You Foundation to be one of their editors, and they were boasting about their We Love You channel in the US and how much money it made being monetized. It was like $12,000 or something like that. And they were boasting about that, their income that they received through YouTube on it. So they're being monetized on YouTube, at least from the We Love You, I can say, at least with that. And exactly, we don't know where our money goes. They're not transparent with their financials. And what we're doing is not illegal. And it's just really upsetting to me because when you look at this like as a logical person, well, you look at it like, well, Edgar, I mean, you have to pay for editing software, subscriptions for that. This isn't free. This is your time and effort. And if people want to support this, they have the right to do so. But they try to turn it on us, try to make us look like bad people for doing that. But when you're brainwashed in a cult, you don't really think about it because they already have the negative perception of us. So when they say things like this, the current members are like, oh, they're so bad or wrong. But because they're in this cognitive dissonance, they never look upon the church. Oh, well, the church isn't transparent with me. The church, we don't know where my money goes to. So it's just a lot of hypocrisy over and over again is what I keep seeing through this.
No, for sure. Hayelom, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah. You can hear me good?
Yeah, can hear you loud.
Oh,
All,
okay.
all I'm hearing is thunder right now.
I think that was when Mitch was talking.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
so yeah, just like they wanna like attack you and be like, oh look, he's selling merchandise, he's having subscriptions, all these things. When they literally, in order to get Father's book, what do you have to do? You have to pay for them. They don't give them to you for free. And then on top of that, you have to be tithing for a minimum of like 6 months before they even give you the option to buy Father's books. Um, which is like them trying to insult, trying to like kind of dig at your character, saying, "Oh, look, he's." They're pretty much trying to say he's doing this for the money. That's what they're trying to say. He's doing this so he can get money off everyone. He's doing this so he can sell his shirts, make you subscribe and to his YouTube and stuff like that. But everything they do is always constantly asking for money. If the church is different, okay, give your Bibles out for free, give Father's book out for free. Stop stop requiring them to give youth offering every month. Stop requiring them to give offering for every little thing that the Zion needs. It's like the pocket. It's like you're accusing him, but you guys are doing it 10 times worse than quote unquote
What
Edgar is doing.
what's crazy to me is like, I could literally embarrass myself and pull up my Shopify and show that I've probably made like all in all somewhere around 100 something on the shirts, $100, right?
Yeah,
I you pay almost $40 a month for Shopify and the I forgot the other one. I'm in negative.
You're making
I've paid
bank right now off of
I've
this.
I've paid Shopify more to keep my store open than the money that I've made, bro. Now, watch this. World Mission Society. You should be embarrassed of yourself. You know why? You're trying to make this about a shirt or people setting up GoFundMe or Patreons or this or that, and you're selling salvation, bro. Show
Exactly.
me where something's against the law for selling a shirt, for selling starting a GoFundMe, starting whatever. Those, guess what? Those are free will offerings that people want to give, right? You, on the other hand, my friends, you don't ask for free will offerings. You demand
You're
it.
not.
If in 2020, if you did not present your tithe, you were not able to keep the Passover.
Exactly.
So what's worse?
Where's that in the Bible?
Exactly. So is what is the free gift of the water of life that's really not free? Your math ain't mathing. All right.
And this to add one other thing.
Go
When they
ahead, bro.
were taking Michelle to court, saying, "Oh, because of her website and everything like that, we lost a bunch of money. We lost members." When I'm not sure the exact details, but the court forced them like to bring the documents to show how much money they made. They had the
Yeah.
best year that they made up to that point, and that was back in 2011, 2012. So imagine how much more money are they making 13 years, 14 years later. So like it's
Yeah.
just like what? You're mad at
Yeah.
us for doing when you do it in a way larger scale. Probably you probably made $100 in the past 20 minutes.
Exactly. And again, it's just greed. It's greed at that
Yeah.
point. But one thing that I want to mention, because this sermon was delivered by Pastor Victor Lozada. I don't know this man. I've heard a lot about him. I know that he has a lot of beef with Michele Colon and a lot of people on the East Coast. But Victor Lozada, I know you're talking about me, and it's very clear from what the people that gave me this information and were there told me that you were talking about me. I know you're referencing me, on here. So I want to say to you, bro, man up. Come on this live. You're gonna find out real quick with me, bro. I don't run from no smoke. You want smoke? I'm right here. I ain't going anywhere, bro. I'm right here. You can email me. Yeah, I ain't hard to find. Trust me. I'm not hard to
how do
find.
they
That's the last
how do
thing.
they know? How do they know you're selling shirts unless they're watching your stuff?
Yeah.
So it's
Matter of
like
fact, Victor Lozada, I got a deal for you. 2 for 1 special. You buy 2 shirts, I'm gonna send you one free, man. How about that? Okay. Um Nathan, you want to jump in here before we jump on the next paragraph?
I was gonna say something that's like off topic, but I'll say that for the next subject.
Okay, okay. All right, Mitch, go ahead and carry us to the next paragraph, please.
All right, next paragraph at the bottom. It says, spiritually in Zion, there are two kinds of people. There is the demon-possessed man and the woman subject to bleeding. The demon-possessed man saw Jesus and said, "Why are you torturing me?" when he really was just trying to save him. For some of our members, they
Let me see. Let me get to the next one. There we go.
So for some of our members, they say, "Come to the Sabbath and preach all day," and say, "The church is torturing me, keeping me in the church 12 plus hours, preaching for 8 hours plus," when really it is for our salvation. Then what about the bleeding woman? She just touched Jesus, and by that her faith healed her. When we come to Zion with a beautiful heart like this, it won't feel like torture, but we will feel how Father and Mother heal us. Think of Jesus and the two robbers. If you look at the crowd, uh, Jesus is placed. It's easy to think Jesus too is a robber because the people he was grouped with were robbers, but he was innocent. In the same way, slanderers will use words like "other cults do this" similarly. Like this, they group our church with the Jehovah Witnesses, Mormons, Shincheonji, and it's easy to say our church is a cult too, but we are innocent. Oh my gosh.
World Mission Society is
Lava
a
Navi.
lot of things. Innocent is not one of them. And when they say we group them with other cults like JWs, Mormons, Shincheonji, that's because you belong in that group, bro. Matter of fact, you belong in your own group by yourself with everything that you've done to people. You know what I
Because
mean?
they're a Frankenstein.
Exactly.
They're a
You know,
monster.
and again, it's funny how they take these stories, right, of the bleeding woman, and they manipulate it to try to fit their narrative, and basically what is this rambling about? They're explaining that being in the church, right, for 12 plus hours, preaching for 8 hours, right, that these are things that are a beautiful thing. They're a beautiful thing, and that members should not complain. Members should be like, the bleeding woman, right? And just be there and enjoy and be happy and don't complain. That is their point through that. The problem is they're leaving out a lot of things. They're leaving out that these things are not given to you like if it's a choice. They're presented to you like it's an obligation, right? See, I myself do find it beautiful if somebody wants to dedicate themselves to be at their church all day. Hey, if that's your free will choice, if it came from your heart, no problem. But if it was pushed on you, and if you're thinking that your salvation is on the line, if you don't do those things, that's where you lose me. That's where it becomes a cult. And that's exactly what the World Mission Society Church of God does. They make it the way they word it. If you just read it, it sounds like what they are saying is good. But it's when you read in between the lines that you realize these people are full of crap, because these things are not asked of you. They are looked at as you need to do that. These are expectations, right? You guys got anything to add to that?
Yeah.
No, I don't at
Unless they
all at
want
this
to.
moment. I mean, again, same thing, just a lot of hypocrisy throughout every
I
single
agree.
paragraph we read.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
go ahead, Halem.
Oh yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I was just gonna say, I noticed a tactic that they like to do a lot is they'll just make blanket, vague statements and say, "Oh, we're not." People say we're like this group, and we're like this group, but we're not. But they don't go into detail of like, oh, they say we do this, and this group does that. They don't go into specifics. And I realized because if they did go into like specific instances, the members would be like, "We do this." There's no way to deny it. So it's like rather than making a blanket statement saying, "Oh, these the slanderers, they put us with all these other cults," but they never specify. Okay, why do we do that? Maybe because you do this and they also do that. Maybe because you tell them not to watch, not to go on the internet, just like the other cults say not to go on the internet. You tell them, oh, you have to. What's another thing? Oh, if you leave the church, we'll shun you, just like how the other cults do. Like they're like even recently, my brother told me that my brother he left the cult thankfully, and he was telling me that one of the leaders told him that I told another member um things that weren't true about the church. But then when I asked my brother, okay, what did he tell you exactly I said? They wouldn't tell him the exact reason. So that they always make these vague statements and these vague things, but they never go into specifics to try like destroy each point. And I noticed that in this sermon, like they just say, "Oh, we're innocent," but innocent of what? What are we exactly accusing you of? Because you're not attacking that direct point. You're just
We are
saying we're innocent.
innocent. Just makes me laugh, man. Because that, like I said, there are a lot of things. Innocent is not one of them. And again, you don't like to be called or compared to JWs, Mormons, Shincheonji, or any other cults. Don't act like it. Let's see. Let's compare all these cults. They sell salvation. They alter the gospel, right? They're high demand, right? Dress codes, right? In the World Mission Society's case, you adopt even a language, right? Like you adopt a Korean personality, right? What do you call
Exactly.
that? What do you want me to call that then? Orthodoxy? No, sorry. Anyway.
And what's funny with that is with my channel, what I'm doing, like going in and like infiltrating these cults for months and months on end. To me, it's like it's hilarious because when I've been in these groups, I've come to see the same tactics used by the World Messiah Church of God. So they can be grouped together. And I'm going to be exposing it, just like you said, just on my channel by going in and showing people actually how it is because it's the same. It's the same as these other cults. And that's why the World Messiah Church of God is a cult. They can't get away from that label and they never will.
Mitch,
Facts.
have you caught yourself, since you've been in other cults, have you caught yourself starting to talk like them here and there?
No. I
No?
think it's different because in the World Messiah Church of God, I was brainwashed because I believed it. But when I've been going into these other groups, I don't believe it. I just play the part. So
Gotcha.
So World Mission Society's got the drop on when it comes to adopting the lingo. And for the audience out there, excuse me, I gotta pop these cough drops in my mouth to keep me functioning. But anyway, Mitch, can you go to the next part, please?
yeah. So we're going to continue with the court cases in the U.S. So there's a couple of tabs here for it. First, mentioned Michele Colon and that she's started doing everything in her power to persecute and hinder the church, attending our town meetings when we're just looking to get a permit just to speak against the church. So for concern for our members, we wondered what we could do. So that's kind of weird. She needs a permit to speak against the church. I don't know. That kind of seems interesting when I read that. We went to a lawyer and he said, we have a case of defamation. So we filed a lawsuit. However, since legally an institution has no feeling, it was difficult to prove damages. So we had to argue tangible damages, meaning money. Yep, money. Yep.
But
Connected
yet
to
they want to go
saying
at you for the money. That's crazy.
Yes, probably
Cheddar
connected to
Bob.
saying it has spiritual meaning because Paul too also underwent a court case. Acts 24 said the Jews claiming Paul was causing riots, but they lied because it was them causing riots. You know, it's kind of we could kind of turn that on the World Messiah Church of God. They be the Jews taking us to court.
Yeah,
So in the same
facts.
way, slanderers claim our church breaks up families when it is they themselves that do this. That's another lie. They literally separated my wife from me. She is literally gone. Haven't spoke to her in 4 weeks. um,
Crazy.
Acts 24:13, Pastor Victor words, meaning not God's words, guys. Pastor
Pastor
Victor's.
Victor's.
After a long time of 11 years, one of the lawsuits were finally dropped because she admitted there was no basis for her claims and she couldn't prove a single thing she said we did. Just like Paul's case, they couldn't prove a single thing.
Yeah. So once again, they admitted in this little part right here, they're talking about Michele Colon. They bring her up now. In the end, if they're switching to another Michele, that's pretty deceitful of them again because the sleight of hand, right? You're gonna have members thinking it's about Michele Colon, but nonetheless, even on here, they're trying to compare themselves to Apostle Paul. Look, World Mission Society, just stop. Stop at this point. You can't be the furthest thing from Apostle Paul. I'm sorry, you and Apostle Paul have nothing in common. Paul was not scared. Paul was not taking people to court. They were taking him to court. You're taking people to court.
That's what I'm
You're
saying. You can
taking
flip it. You can flip
exactly
They're the
like
Jews.
you and you've admitted here that you guys were the first ones to take action against the members for money, right? And one thing that I found funny on the top, it says court cases in U.S. mentioned Michele Colon and that she started doing everything in her power to persecute and hinder the church, attending our town meetings, and we're just looking to get a permit just to speak against the church. So for concern for our members, we wondered what we can do. We went to a lawyer and he said, we have a case of defamation. So we filed a lawsuit. However, since legally an institution has no feelings, it was difficult to prove damages. Well, I agree with you on that. You guys have no feelings. So we had to argue tangible damages, money. Notice the sleight of hand, right? It's the victim mentality. Oh, the members, we didn't know what to do to protect our members. So we went to an attorney. Hey, bro, I got an idea. How about instead of going to an attorney, you try to resolve the situation like the early church? Or why not do what Jesus did and pray if you feel someone is going against you? But no,
Why go? I was saying, why go to an attorney if you have God in the flesh with you, and you just go to her?
Exactly. Doesn't the Bible say that the Holy Spirit is an advocate? Why you need an attorney for if you got an advocate, right? Their advocate must not have good reviews.
God said, take him to court. Darn it.
Too much
Them to
ties, too
court.
much, too much ties.
Yeah, hey, one question with this. Do you understand that part? It says in that first check on the court cases, when it's talking about Michele Colon, it says just to get a permit, just to speak against the church. Do you think it's maybe translation error? Because that would be crazy. You don't need a permit to. It's freedom of speech. We can just go talk to. We can say anything we want
I
practically,
think
as
the
long as
church,
we're not.
based on that, I think the church was trying to get a permit. The way it's like written is weird. I think they were trying to get a permit, but she went to the town church. They're saying she went to the meeting to speak against the church while the church was trying to get a permit.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's my misunderstanding. Got it. Okay.
So can we go ahead and go to my favorite part, the part where they address the 3 missing chapters for 30 minutes.
Let me guess. They just go right over this. Man, this is just ridiculous at this point. Okay. 3 missing chapters. Open by telling us the 3 chapters that were removed: the prophecy of Jonah, the mission of Elijah, and evidence book. All right. Then delivered the prophecy of Jonah. Summary. In the story of Jonah, Jonah told Nineveh, they will be destroyed in 40 days. No ultimatum. God just said it will be destroyed. But in 40 days after repentance, God didn't destroy them. This doesn't mean Jonah was a false prophet. Take for example, Apostle Paul, who said he will be changed, but they've all since died. Thus, sometimes God makes a prophecy look like.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
There we go. I love where this is going, man. The
Me too.
I can already
mental
tell where they're going with
gymnastics.
this. I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, God sometimes makes a prophecy look like it failed to create urgency and repentance in the heart of his people. The same way 40 days equals 40 years. 40 years from 1948. See, I'm just already connecting it in my head. From 1948 to 1988. So the church members preached the world would be destroyed in 1988. But just as God relented for Nineveh, so God will relent in 1988. First off, I have to say maybe we should get out the if they want to make this excuse, okay, whatever. But then you got to also bring up the book. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, all became drowsy and fell asleep, because then you realize, oh, it wasn't just 1998. He set this, and then he set another date and gave a buffer period. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah,
What you got, Hayelom?
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the story of Jonah, doesn't God give like a condition saying that they'll destroy it in 40 years unless they turn to me and repent of their sins?
Yeah, they need
Or
to
that, or,
repent. Yeah.
or, or am I just reading into that? I feel like he put a condition before that.
Yeah.
Like he let them
So
know, like,
he said, go preach to the people, right? Like 40 days in Nineveh will be overturned.
Did he put a condition that saying unless they turn to me, or am I
So
that verse doesn't exist? I don't remember.
so it mentions that they repented and turned to God because of the preaching of Jonah, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mention specifically that that was the criteria.
Oh,
But
okay. All right.
that's still apples to oranges, because that,
Yeah.
first of all, that was a local judgment. Okay, that was a local
Hmm.
judgment. That's not end of the world prophecy, right? That was not something that God had prophesied about. That was God dealing with a certain nation directly. Okay, they're
Agreed.
saying Annsahnghong, who predicted the end of the world, and it was going to
Hmm.
happen in 1988, and then it didn't happen. They say, "Oh, well, that was prophecy. That was prophecy.
I got something.
That's why he said it. It's because this needed to happen because there needed to be a grace period. He wanted people to repent. Really, bro? Then why 2012?
Agreed. And
Why
if
2012?
and
Hmm.
another reason this
Okay.
is false, if he's going to compare it to Nineveh, Nineveh was saved. Why? Because the whole entire city of Nineveh, what? Repented. But Annsahnghong
Mm-hmm.
saying the end of the world will happen in 1988. So if this is compared to Nineveh, then in 1988, for the world not to be destroyed, everybody in the world should have repented. And by them all repenting and coming to Annsahnghong as the Christ, the world was saved. Because we can't compare it to Nineveh if the world, the entire world, that wasn't saved. Because all of Nineveh was saved because they repented. But if you're saying the end of the world will happen in 1988, but it didn't happen just like what happened in Nineveh, that means the whole world would have had to repent, but they didn't. And we know that for a fact. So again, we cannot compare this to Jonah, as they always do. They don't even correlate together at all.
Facts. Hayelom.
Um. Yeah, I want to say like even like when God relented from Nineveh, it's because God said directly, "I won't destroy you because of this." But you cannot find any writing or ensemble said, "Oh, the reason, oh, I changed my mind. I'm not going to destroy in 1988." There's no writing where he says this is going to be changed into something later, or any sermon or anything like that. But he does say in the book, okay, 2012. Okay, where does he say that? Oh, 2012. If it doesn't happen, I'll change it to something later. Like God, he directly said by his words that I won't destroy it because in such and such reason. But we can't find any direct word on someone saying, "Oh, this prophecy it didn't happen because such and such reason. 1980 didn't happen because such and such. 2012 didn't happen because such and such." We don't. He died in 1985, so like we have no words of him. We just have the word of the church. It's just how we
Right.
meant to believe them when God. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to put into words, but yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, Mitch, you want to carry us through the last part?
Yeah, definitely. And then one more thing with this, it's like maybe the 1988 they could like cover it up a little bit. It still looks bad, but they could probably maybe cover it up. But since they already put that time period between 1988 and 2012, since 2012 has passed, it just shows this is all fraudulent. It all falls apart. But they don't like mentioning these two facts. Anyways, yeah, let's continue. They said, in order to understand why chapters were removed, we need to read the preface of the Green Book. He quoted Annsahnghong saying, "If you have any questions, please, without hesitation, visit us face to face for study," and said the reason why Mother removed these chapters is because these chapters are not the best to just be read by members and could be interpreted. Rather, they should be studied with face to face. Mother removed these chapters because they're very difficult to understand by just reading them and can cause more questions and concerns if read alone. Isn't that funny? Because I'm just going back to what you said
That's
really
crazy.
quick, Edgar, about the preface, and Annsahnghong is saying you can just read this, study it, and you should be able to understand it. But if you have questions, then you should come to the church. So we should have been able to
That's
understand
why
it
I
pretty
read
clearly.
that first part. Exactly.
Exactly. Yep. Then gave us three reasons why Mother has authority to remove the chapters. One, Before Annsahnghong ascended, he gave the truth books to Mother, spiritually symbolizing she has authority over them. 2, Father said, I follow Mother. This means whatever action Mother takes, Father follows and wants his children to also follow and obey her. Number 3, Father and Mother are one in spirit and one in mind. Then the same hand that wrote the truth books in 1980 is the same hand of Mother
Oh,
that
brother.
removed the chapters. In regards to the chapters about Elijah, in which he says the mission of Elijah is to prepare for the second coming Christ, he said, in the same way that Jesus speaks about God as if it's someone separated from him. So Father too spoke in this language because it was the level of understanding the church at that time, that the church had at the time. And it was not the time yet to reveal he was the Christ. I mean, if you're telling me it wasn't the time, I mean, he's just making it more confusing if you're asking me if that's what he really meant. But
Yeah.
That's
So
insane.
what's up, Michelle?
Hi.
The
How
goat
you
is in the
doing?
building.
How
Hello.
are you guys?
we're
We're
doing
doing good. We're
dandy.
doing
Doing
good.
great. How are you?
Sorry, I meant to hop on a little bit earlier, but I was in the middle of something at home. But yeah, I've
What do
been
you think
listening
about
this
all
whole
these
time.
shenanigans?
Insane, completely insane. I was like, I'm listening and I'm doing what I have to do, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to hurry up so I can jump on and try to clear some of this up because yeah, no, this is not making sense. I don't want to like interrupt your flow, so just ignore me for now. I can always jump back in later.
You're
Um,
good. You're good. So,
yeah.
so yeah, it's total nonsense. And then, the three reasons why mother has authority to remove chapters. Let's examine them. So one, before Annsahnghong ascended, he gave the truth books to Mother, spiritually symbolizing she has authority over them. Cool story, bro. But where's the evidence? Oh, here's the evidence: a reenactment video where it has a guy playing Annsahnghong, right, and a guy playing Zhangyojia, and a woman playing Zhangyojia, and a guy playing General Pastor, where this supposedly happens. But where's the actual evidence? Couldn't have Annsahnghong, instead of just making it, that random and, up to interpretation, why not just write something directly? Oh, wait, but that's their second argument, right? He did. Father said, I follow Mother. Except when you read the context, he's not talking about God the Mother. He's not talking about Zhangyojia. He's talking about the new covenant. Michele Colon actually has that sermon where her Annsahnghong's son breaks that sermon down. He has Annsahnghong's handwritten notes, and he breaks that down. When you read that sermon in context, I actually read it yesterday. When you read it in context, I believe the sermon was called "Walking with God," and in the whole point of that sermon, if you read from the beginning, is Annsahnghong is claiming like, how is it that we can walk with God? Right? Because walking with God is ultimately what's going to save you. And so he gives an example like Enoch walked with God. And the Bible even mentions Enoch walked with God and he was taken up, right? And then he begins to give all these different examples where he says, um, Elisha, he followed Elijah. Notice how, as a father said, I follow Mother. He's playing off of these words that he had mentioned before in his sermon. So he says Elisha followed Elijah, and he even mentions like three times, Elijah's trying to get away from Elisha, and Elisha's like, no, bro, I know you're gonna sin. I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna follow you. So you can see the context. And then he brings up like the Sabbath, where the apostles or Jesus kept the Sabbath. And then what does Annsahnghong say? I too follow the Sabbath. I too will obey this. I too will obey when it's talking about Passover, when it's talking about Sabbath. So he mentions all those things. And then finally at the end, he says, I follow Mother, when Galatians chapter 4 is quoted, when Apostle Paul's directly talking about the new covenant. So it makes perfect sense in the context that Annsahnghong was talking about, walking with God. Why wasn't the sermon titled Walking with Mother God, revealing Jerusalem Mother? Because that was not the point. The point of that sermon was how to walk with God correctly. Now, I'm sorry, Annsahnghong didn't know how to do that, but that's beyond the point. The point is he was not talking about Mother God. And then point 3, this is the worst one. Father and mother are one spirit and one mind. Then the same hands that wrote the truth books in 1980 is the same hand of mother that removed the chapters. So so if they're one spirit, you're complete. I know you guys already don't believe in the Trinity. You guys completely butcher what the Trinity is. But even now, even through World Mission Society theology, you're basically saying that the Holy Spirit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, you're saying that the Holy Spirit is also God the Mother. She's also part of the Trinity, the triune God, the Godhead. That makes no sense. No sense. You guys, this comes again from bad theology. You guys don't know what the heck you guys are talking about. This is sad. Honestly, it's pitiful. And then you say the same hands that wrote the truth in regard to the chapter of Elijah, in which he says the mission of Elijah is to prepare the second coming Christ. He said in the same way that Jesus speaks about God as if it's someone separate from him. So Father too spoke in this language because it was the level of understanding the church had at that time. And it was not the time yet to reveal he was the Christ. Once again, a lie. The original church of Annsahnghong that walked with him, walked with supposedly who the World Mission Society claimed is God, they said that he never claimed to be God. Not during that whole time when he was leading their church. That wasn't until the very end when Suin crept into the church. That's when his ideas started to change. But before then, none of this was ever mentioned. None of this, and never, not one time, and I just talked to the elders yesterday, not one time did he ever mention in his original church that Zhang was God the Mother. That idea did not come into play until after. That came afterwards. After he died, Zhang made a play after Suin's playbook and tried to carry that same idea of God the Mother. So all these reasons that he gave, they don't work. They don't work. So, but anyway, anybody got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was given 3 other answers that were not these answers on why the chapters were removed. So let me tell you about those. When I first joined the church, and I found out about these missing chapters, I was told by the overseers and leaders at that time, this is when I was younger in my faith, they said, "Oh, brother, it's not that we can't read them. It's just the green book was too large already. So those chapters were taken out and they were just put into the other truth books. So as long as you read of all of Annsahnghong's truth books, you've read those chapters that were in here." Came to find out that that was a flat out lie when I actually read them myself. Second lie I heard was from Pastor Jacob Hahn in Dallas. This was already when I confronted the church about my doubts. They sent me to Dallas, Texas to meet with him for a little bit. And he told me, "Oh, because Mother said." Don't you believe in Mother, Mitch? Mother said we don't need them. She has authority. That's why they were taken out. Then I go to Korea. I go to the head office. I bring up the 3 missing chapters to them again. And the answer changed once again. They said, "Brother Mitch, the reason these chapters were removed is because those prophecies were already fulfilled." And this is coming from the Internet Mission Team pastor who leads all of the world. He said they were taken out because they were already fulfilled. This answer really pissed me off because I thought he just took me as an idiot, because it made me think, well, then why don't we get rid of the prophecies of the 1948? Why don't we get rid of these Daniel prophecies? Why don't we just get rid of most of the Old Testament and practically the New Testament for a lot of its fulfillment? Yeah, he didn't have an answer, and I finally told him I know why these were taken out. It's because there's failed doomsday prophecies in it. And he went into the same thing. He's like, no, just like Jonah's prophecy. And then that's when I brought up the bridegroom is a long time in coming, all became drowsy and fell asleep, that book. Because then it proves that they're fraud. Because it's not just this one failed prophecy that they try to cover up with this Jonah's prophecy. Now they have another problem on their hand. It's 2012. So these two dates are tied together, the 1988 and the 2012, and they have very pathetic answers. And it's just funny how they continually change the answers on why the chapters are removed. And I think they come to realize the answers they gave before don't fly anymore. So they came up with three new answers, which are pretty terrible as well. They give no explanation, well, logical and reasonable explanation why these were removed. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, man, that that's true and is not logical. You know, they and like you said, 1988 does go hand in hand with 2012. But you know, again, even going back to what we were talking about a little bit before, where they try to like because according to them, when they went over the prophecy of Jonah, they did it very quick. They did it very quick. Notice how like the stuff that they're just trying to like brush over and kind of like just hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, so we can get to what we really want to talk about because there's really no good answer for it. Just hurry up with it, right? Because I even have it written down in my notes. With Michele Colon's case, they took about 25 minutes going over Michele Colon's case and you know how horrible Michele Colon is as a person and just attacking her and then also calling slanderous names. They were calling us low lives. There was a lot of things being said in that education, right? So isn't it funny they have all this time to dedicate to run their mouth, right, on ex members, right? People speaking out. But when it comes to what the education was actually supposed to be about, you ain't got no answers for it. So see, the members might not see past it because right now they're lost in the sauce. But we on the outside, we see past those tactics. You guys didn't do anything with the three chapters besides trying to scare people to stay away from the internet. Because it was mentioned to me by my two sources that you guys made a huge play on talking about why it's important to keep members off of the internet. Because the internet is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, according to Pastor Victor Lozada and according to SahngHong. You watched the video that I made beforehand. Now, again, why do they have to do these things? Why do they have to focus so much on the fear mongering, on slandering ex-members, calling them outside of their names, doing all these things? Because they can't answer questions. They can't answer questions. That's very simple. They know that what they teach is not logical. It hasn't been logical since their first failed prophecy in 1988. Their first failed prophecy in 1988, no matter how you want to cut it, no matter what they try to say, oh, well, God decided to give them another chance. Again, it was a local judgment. God used a prophet. You don't know if God had intentions for that prophet. You see later on in the story that God really focused on Jonah. But that's a prophet. Show me Jesus in the flesh doing that. Show me Jesus changing his mind. Show me Jesus giving a prophecy and saying, oops, no, I was just playing. This actually had, you can't find that. You can't find that. So again, no matter which way you go, you can't answer these questions. That's why you're tap dancing. Victor Lozada, you called people out of their names. You said we were low lives, right? So I also have the right to give you a nickname. So from now on, you're Victor Tostada, okay? And again, when you want to smoke, you come on here. You can explain. I'll give you all the time in the world. You can explain to me why these points are valid. Until then, bro, this is a running joke at this point. Michelle, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that, like you said, they have no real answers and they don't care about making things up in order to sort of placate people. Remember when the pastor in Ridgewood, Don Lee, lied to me about a translation in a book. And then later on, my ex was like, well, he lied to you to save you. I'm sorry. No, that doesn't make sense. And that is wrong. Like I don't know if you guys were taught about the righteous lie, but I was, right? So as long as you're lying in order to quote unquote save someone or to further the agenda of the church, then it was okay, right? And that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah. they're they're lying, and they are very good at that. And you know what, they're not only good at lying, they're also good at controlling the information and controlling the narrative. And I think this is ultimately what it boils down to. This is the World Mission Society's attempt of controlling the narrative, damage control. They see people are leaving, right? They're upset about it. So this is their best shot. And notice when people have to resort to calling names, and again, they spent 25 minutes talking about Michele Colon's case. It seems to me like they're the ones that can't get over her, right? I bet they're mad that they did what they did, because Michele, you really put a dent in them. You know what I mean? You because of you really started a lot this movement. So I could see why they're upset at you. But again, it's funny because they always make the ex-members sound to be like they're the ones who are sour or can't give it up. It seems like you guys are more focused on what we're doing. You're watching our channel, you're watching what we do, right? You're so focused on ex-members' lives. Why not just give it up? Again, don't you guys use that verse, Acts 5, 38, 39, right? If you what is it? If you just leave these men alone, if it is of God, you're not going to be able to stop these men, right?
Right.
So
And
why
I
not just do this?
actually,
Go ahead.
sorry, I remember like a week or two ago, I think it was, I was watching one of Adam's videos and I was like in the chat and somebody said, oh, there aren't any court cases against World Mission. And I was like, I replied back, I was like, excuse me, news to me, that is not true. And now that makes sense because I'm like, that person probably listened to whatever this quote unquote education was and thought that, the church wasn't involved in any lawsuits anymore and that they basically won. But, I'm here to say the trial is scheduled for June. The case is very much going forward in court. And I look forward to my day in court. So we'll see how that goes.
Wait a second, Michele. You're telling me that you didn't openly admit that there was no basis for your case, and you purposely dismissed your case?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
That's what I figured. And once again, like just shows how these people are willing to, steep so low like that to lie. You know what I mean? To lie,
Yeah.
to try to control that narrative. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mitch.
Yeah,
And they're also afraid that people are going to go online and actually try to find the stuff, right? Because
exactly.
these court case documents, whether it's my case or someone else's case, at least here in the US, the documents are available online. Depending on where it is, you have to sign up for like a free account or whatever to view them, and you need the docket numbers and stuff, but it's not impossible to find if you really want to look it up for yourself. So I think it probably makes sense to just lie to the members and tell them that, oh, the case was dismissed, so that people don't look for it, right? Because they got caught in a huge lie already when they told their members that I sued them first, right? That was like a whole big scandal. I remember when people started to realize, wait a minute, she didn't sue them first, it was the church that sued them first. And then why did they lie about something like that, right? So I think they're just trying to get their members to stop looking, stop researching, right? That's really inconvenient when the organization is lying about so many things. You don't want the members actually going online and finding out that they're lying, right? That would be really, really inconvenient for them, for sure.
Yeah, and then they go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at why they're doing this and how they do it, they're operating the same way the Soviet Union does under Marxism during the time of the Soviet Union, or the way North Korea is operating at the moment. They keep people in a bubble of information control, and they use so for example, if we look at the Soviet Union just really quickly, a lot of the Soviet Union, they had a problem with the West at the time, and it was a societal norm, and they all agreed that there was problems with the West, and that's why they gave educations like on internet mission, the World Messiah Church of God. They mentioned things in their internet mission sermon or education that's like, yes, there's internet addiction, there is false news on the internet, so it's something everybody can agree with. But what happened, just like the Soviet Union, now they brought in their doctrine, something everybody's attached to, which is Marxism. Same way World Messiah Church of God now brings in the Bible. See, there's also false rumors in the Bible. about what happened to Jesus with the resurrection and the lies that were spread afterwards. And then what they do finally to indoctrinate people, they spin the narrative, and now they say, so we shouldn't go online, we shouldn't research, we shouldn't look about the church. They're running the same way communism has worked or North Korea has worked. And it's very, very concerning to me because all the churches, they're kept in a bubble. That's why the churches tell us, and we have text message proof of it, don't speak to members when they leave to go to a new church. Don't speak to people when they leave the church. Because if they can control that information, they can control the narrative. And if they can control the narrative, they can spread any lie they want to about us. And that's why it's so easy for them to tell members, this person's doing this or this person's doing this, because they've already been pre-programmed to literally not trust anybody that's left or not talk to anybody that's gone to a new church. That's why it's so easy for them in Oklahoma to spread a lie about me that I joined Daniel Park's church, or to spread lies about the lawsuits of Michele Colon, because they've already demonized us. And members don't want to talk to us because they'd be disobeying God if they did. So they've already created this narrative. They've already created this bubble. But the problem with the World Messiah Church of God now is there's a lot of people waking up. There's people that are seeing the cracks in the doctrine and the teachings, and enough people that were around long enough to see how they were treated and how they've continually changed the narrative as the years have gone on. And because of this, there's people in all churches around the whole United States that are now giving us the information, giving us the lies they're spreading about us. And I just want to say, I think the World Messiah Church of God needs to be very careful, because actually, if anybody has a defamation lawsuit, I think it's us. It's a lot of the ex-members that are exposing what's going on in the church, and we have so much evidence now about the things that they've been saying about us that are untrue, that they've been telling the congregation. So I think the World Messiah Church of God is in a very difficult situation right now because they need to control people because their people are leaving. But the more control and the more lies they keep pressing on people, the more it's going to get exposed, and actually the more people that are going to leave. So when I look at the World Messiah Church of God, no matter what they do right at this time, it's only going to be declining, because they either have to continue putting control on people, which is going to make people leave, or they have to keep spreading lies that are going to get leaked, and people are going to realize these lies, and they're going to leave as well. So that's kind of all I have to say. But the World Messiah Church of God, like we've said, 2026, it's a year of reckoning. As you said, Edgar and Adam said it as well, and it is. I'm not scared of the church. I don't think any of us are really scared of them anymore. It's not looking good for the WMSCOG. That's all I gotta say.
For sure. Anyone else, guy? What's up, Clark? I see you on there, man. What you got to say, bro?
I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm sure you guys touched on a lot of things.
We're not forgiven for being late.
That's not okay. I'm gonna have to take your blessings away. No planets for you.
I see 5 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, brother, your galaxy has been removed.
I better see a big offering in the envelope this Sabbath, by the way.
Right.
The price went up. The price just went up.
50%.
No, I'm not sure.
Apparently, I'm getting rich from selling T-shirts.
You know, it's so funny that we joke about these things, but literally, when the fact that you all are harmonizing to make those kind of jokes shows what really goes down in those church in the WMSCOG. You know what I mean? Like they are really like that. They'll guilt trip you. They'll make you feel like, like because you didn't meet their standards that, you need to work on yourself, you need to repent, or, these are the things that make, the members fear them. But anyway, I don't know if anyone touched on it, but the sermon that was recorded that they all pretty much, right? General Pastor sermon. Yeah. Do we bring that up?
For it, bro.
Yeah.
No, I haven't brought that up.
Okay, so have a good one, Michelle. So the point that I wanted to bring up was when they had said that General Pastor tried to explain what the meaning of them saying kill the betrayers or kill the those who left or whatever the case may be. I think that they're trying to explain what that meant. His trying to explain what that meant was so wrong and messed up. Like he said, when God says kill them, it means stay away from them, right? Like when he made that statement. But no, when you say kill someone, it means kill them. And when you say stay away from someone, it means stay away from them. To kill someone means to actually kill them, and to stay away from them means to stay away from them. It never kill someone, that never means stay away from them. Right? If I tell you to go and kill someone, what does it mean you're going to go and do? You got to go locate that person, find out where that person is, and put them to death, however you're going to do it. It entails going to that person, is what I'm saying. But in the sermon, he tries to express that it means to stay away from them. That's not right, because you got to realize that people are not in their right minds nowadays. And when you think about it, and let's say, one of these members in the churches or in the WMSCOG is watching this now, think about what, has happened in schools and in churches up until now. You got people that's shooting up schools. They're not in their right mind, mental health issues. And you got people that's also, I think there was one case where someone had shot up a church, right? Obviously, these people are not in their right minds, but where do those things stem from? They have to stem from something. So now you got General Pastor delivering sermons like this. How do you know that all those members are in their right mind? And they're not going to think like, oh, he said kill them, right? You got some members who were locked up before, and they, locked up for cases where they had to deal with guns or whatever the case may be. Might change their life, but my point is that the moment you tell someone, hey, kill or do something, you don't know what state of mind that these people are in. And you're just telling them to do those kind of. Now, then what happens when they go and actually do something like that? Or they go into a church and now you have to answer to that. So, yeah, you can have, your whatever explanation you want to have, but you got to realize what you're saying. And I don't think that a church of God would, if the church is really of God, I don't think any kind of message like that would be delivered. I don't think God would send any of his prophets to deliver a message like that. Right?
Yeah, that's facts. I mean, look at all the prophets of the Old Testament. What were they sent for? To proclaim, to repent, right? And
right.
to ultimately to prepare people for Christ. And then when you have Christ appears, what does he do? When people are persecuting him, when people are saying things about him, does he say, give a sermon where he explains, you know what? In the Old Testament, right, people were killed if they were betrayers, right? Then also, I think then they also should be spiritually killed if they betray the Son of. Does he ever say that? No, right? So where do they get off on saying what they're saying? They know why they say those things, and even if, go ahead, Nathan. You want to say something? Get it off your chest,
go ahead.
man.
Just finish what you're saying. It's about something else.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, man.
No, I don't want to throw you off.
You already did, man. It's too late, bro. I'm
The
gonna
floor is yours, man. The floor.
I'm gonna need you to fast. I'm gonna need you to fast for like a month now, okay? No, man. I mean, ultimately, I'm just going off the top of the dome. Like, I'm just saying it's not right what they say. And again, this is exactly why they're classified as a cult. Who does that? I don't go to my regular, normal Christian church down the street, and if one of their members left, I don't think they're going to run a campaign where they're going to be like, you know what? What does the Holy Spirit tell me I should deliver the sermon about today? That one member that left and said he didn't like the experience. You know what? Let's kill them. In the Old Testament, the betrayers were killed. The betrayers were killed. In the New Testament, what do you think should happen, right? Should you feel pity for them? Should you have mercy for them? You would never expect something like that from a Christian church.
They can say that now, and I'll make it really quick before Nathan speaks. They can say that now, right? Because they don't believe in the Bible. They believe in Mother. So what Mother's word is trumps the Bible now. So they can say stuff like that. They can say go kill or something because maybe it's mother's will. Because obviously it's not the Bible's will in the New Testament. They try to compare the two, the Old Testament, New Testament, saying, no, it's valid for this time too. No, it isn't. But for them to still proclaim this, it's really showing they don't believe the Bible. And it's true. They believe mother. They believe their Korean gods, the 82, 83-year-old woman in South Korea. That is their Bible now. And anything that contradicts her words, even if it's the Bible itself, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how they get
And
away with this.
yeah, you're right. What's up, Nathan? Go ahead, bro.
All right. So I want to make a point of what Mitch was saying. I think was I think Mitch, you were talking about it on the live a couple of days ago about the financial tithes and offerings, how like they don't have a like we should know like where all the money goes to, like uh like a sheet of like like tithes and offerings of like this goes to that and this goes to that.
Correct.
And
Yeah,
but
they
like
don't. They don't. Yeah.
yeah, so the point I want to make, so my church we have this right here. um it's so the whole thing is like we have things that like events, like what's gonna happen during the whole month, right? And there's this little section that we have. It says fine. I don't know if you can see it. It says financials. And so this paper every Sunday is given, like the ushers, like they hand it out to the whole congregation. Um, and so just to see, what's happened in the month. And what stood out to me was when you mentioned that. So the church that I go to, they have like a budget, right? They have a budget. So right here it says general giving fund. And it says budgeted per week $45,231, and then what was given was 29,588. And then there's like a little sentence says all giving to missions will be directed to the general fund, which fully supports our missionaries. The building fund remains open to future campus projects. So, with that being said, the point about that was our church literally has nothing to hide about where the money goes to, how much money is given, what's our budget, and the fact that the WMSCOG with our tithes and offerings, right? It's like kept a secret, and like they don't tell them, like they don't tell the congregation, hey, this money is going to this. This is money is going. Like if you ask them about it, right? You not pressing them, but just ask them, hey, where's our tithes and offerings going to, etc. They hide it. Like it's like a secret. It's a secret to them. So this was I wanted to share uh that like that like my church, right? They do this financial giving fund, and they tell us, hey, they give us this paper, right? They're like, look, this is how much money we have. This is how much money our funding and what's given, and this is where it's going. And so, like the church has like nothing to hide, bro. But then when he asks the WMS, it's like it's a secret.
We just need it because
Um,
God's on this earth. We just need to trust Mother. That's what it is. And
yeah,
I'd like to give you
exactly.
guys a little transparency, what I know as pastoral staff, because
Yeah,
my wife was an accountant and I also brought the money to the bank.
yeah,
So our Sabbath offerings, I know it again, they're not still not transparent about it. The only reason I know is because I was pastoral staff. All of your offerings that you give on the Sabbath day, or like for a feast offering, this goes to paying like bills of the church. Okay. But when it comes to the tithe, man, that's something else. Tithe goes, here's the thing, it's broken up in regions. There's like 7 regions or whatever now in America. I don't know the exact number anymore. But the regional church has a regional bank where all the branches send the money to the regional bank, and it's under a LLC, not under the church's under a LLC. I don't know what that is. After that, I don't know where it goes, but obviously we know it goes to Korea because that's what they say it goes to. But again, they're not transparent. They're not saying where the funds are going to. But I like conspiracies, so we're about to go into a conspiracies talk. So we're getting into a Joe Rogan podcast really quick here. Here's my
But
guess.
hey, I gotta go.
Okay.
That's all. That's all I wanted to share.
Okay, good talking to you, Nathan.
Hey,
But what?
assalamu alaikum. Love y'all, man.
All right, but
Take care,
I do
take
want
care.
to say one thing really quick about Korea and money. Something that's very wrong and messed up to me, what I think. When I went to Korea, they have churches everywhere, and these just aren't churches they bought. These are churches they've built, right? Do we build churches in America? No. What do? We buy a cheap, broken down church, we renovate it under free labor, and then the property value of that church exponentially increases. So it's free labor, a lot of donations from the members, and now the property value of that property has skyrocketed. Guess what? The electricians, HVAC, drywallers, tilers, landscapers, are any of them paid in America? None of them are paid in America. But you go to Korea and you ask head office, oh, do these people work for the church? Because they're every day doing construction or landscaping. They're like, yeah, they're employees of the church. They get paid by the church to do landscaping, to build churches, to do the construction, to renovate. So I think it's very interesting. A lot of our money gets sent to Korea. And in Korea, they just build this empire. They have all these wonderful, grand buildings off of our tithe. And they're also paying their employees of the church, members of the church. They're paid to do that job. Even the media team, they're all paid. But in America, we do the same thing. We're there every night doing construction. We're building their church. We're increasing the property value of that place because of the renovations we do on it. And we receive zero compensation for that. And we don't have the best buildings here, but they literally have temples and grand estates in Korea, and they're paid for it. And honestly, I would have to say, and this is just opinion based, there could be some case of labor trafficking. Again, assumption. I think America, we could say it might be labor trafficking what they're doing to members here. But anyways, it's just an opinion because we have to say that on YouTube. It's an opinion. I don't want Edgar to get sued or me. But I just wanted to voice that because there's so many red flags when I went to Korea and seeing these beautiful places and these guys are getting paid. And I look back in America, I'm like, we're just slaving away late at night, building their temples for free based off of our money. Hey, one
So
more
Yeah.
thing. One more thing. Have you guys ever done like flower offerings or they say, hey, a member is going to Korea and we want to buy a plant or something for Heavenly Mother?
yes.
Isn't it funny? They don't like give a budget like how much the plant costs. They just tell
Mm.
everybody to donate like $20. Because I remember sitting in group meetings and this was like, hey, we're just buying a plant for Mother. We're gonna give Mother a plant or for flower offerings for the church to make the flowers. Now I did my research. These plants or the flowers in total usually cost about $150, $200. And we're sitting in a group meeting. They don't tell you how much they cost. They just say, tell everyone in your group to give $20. Okay. And I think it's very interesting because just my group alone gives over $200. So it already covers the plant, but everybody else is also giving $20 for these offerings to Mother for a plant or for the flower offering to like make the nice flowers in the church. But what do you do with the rest of the money? Isn't that funny? That because when you think about it logically, if everybody in every group is giving $20, you have a lot of money right there. And I know for a fact flowers don't cost that much, plants don't cost that much. And I think it's a joke that they're not transparent about that. What do you do with the money? You just take everybody's money, you don't give it back. You know, it's like, hey guys, thanks for donating. Oh, we took like $1 from all of you and it covered everything. Here's your money back for everything. No, they keep it and they don't tell you where it went.
Facts. Clark.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about even actually those 2 points that Mitch just brought up. So with the whole construction thing, I want to be let's say I I know that they don't have anything structured when it comes to the those who participate in construction or building up their churches or renovating, like you were saying.
And we can
I
talk
know
about
in New
permits
Windsor. So, oh man, this dude is funny. So I remember in New Windsor, they do have like some kind of setup. I'm not sure the details of it, or but I know they do have a team of construction workers that live on campus, right? Now I don't know if those construction workers, those members, are getting paid, or if they're being compensated, but I do know that they're living on campus. And I also don't know if they're paying anything while they're living on campus. I wouldn't be surprised if they are, because I was paying to live where I was. But I do know that they do house some of them, right? And that's just me trying to be fair, right? We're this way, it doesn't look like we're just going like on like offensive on them, right? But from my experience, yeah, they do like house some construction workers. There were actually some who transferred from Philadelphia and went to New York too, and did that. And then with the whole offering thing, there has been cases where if something was covered or something, I got my money back, but that was because it was the specific overseer that I had, right? He had different overseers, different.
You do, and you're right about that. I can't voice my opinion for every Zion, but
Right.
my last 3 overseers in Oklahoma, for sure, they were all the same, and that's why I'm kind of very like open to
Right.
talk about it, because it was the same at least for those last 3. But as you know, West Coast, East Coast, Central,
Different things happen.
they're all
But
corrupt in their own ways,
ultimately,
but they're also open in their own ways.
yeah, like I said, you have like, for example, you yourself, you would talk to members a certain way, and there's certain things you wouldn't say to them that another leader would say, and you would probably be like in your mind, I don't really agree with what you just said or how you treated that member, but anyway, anyway, to each his own. But I know for a fact there has been a case where I did receive. Was it something that I always receive back? No. I can say that I gave more, excuse me, and there wasn't any transparency on where the money was going. I can say that me not knowing where everything that I gave was going happened more than never. Right? So if it was an announcement, like for example, recently, well, I don't want to say recently because I haven't been there for like a couple months now, but towards the end of my departure from that cult, there was, because they did the opening of the new location in Buffalo, New York, right? So they wanted us to purchase plants, like these welcome plants that they had in Korea when people visited Korea. And they were a special kind of plants. And I think General Pastor was coming, so they wanted like each Zion to participate in like getting these plants. I don't know how many they wanted, but they just said everyone can just give an offering. But in that specific occasion, no one ever told us like, oh, we have enough, or this was the amount of this is the amount that we need to purchase these plants. None of that was disclosed to us. It was just like pretty much just everybody give your money. Now, mind you, this is the whole East Coast, right? And they're getting ready for prophet school. So you got members that's coming from the West Coast too. From the West Coast coming to the East Coast. And you got all the East Coast members. And I'm sure that they communicated all that information to the members on the West Coast, because leaders from the West Coast are coming to the East Coast. So how much money did they gather? How much money they received for that one mission that it wasn't communicated to us how much was needed? And also if anyone gave a little bit too much, or it wasn't tracked like that. It was just, we would always just give.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly like we just said, Clark. There's so many things, not only in my state, but they've also told us to help with other things in other states, especially Buffalo. For example, before I decided to go rogue or like confront the church and stuff, I was supposed to go to Buffalo and live there for 3 to 6 months to help with the construction there,
Mm.
to help do it. Obviously, it didn't work out because I got sent to Korea because I had doubts and stuff like that. And then obviously I stepped down, but I was just supposed to go there. But it was just supposed to be out of my own dime. They weren't going to pay me for being out there. It had to be on my own budget, my own time, and everything. And I just remember before I was supposed to go and all that, there was a big offering for Buffalo, New York. We just got this university for New Jerusalem University. And yeah, they no amount. They never gave us like a goal, like, hey, this is our goal on how much we want to raise. And then like based off of the income of it, like giving us a dial on how much of that was fulfilled. They just have everyone give, and all the excess, I think they just pocket the church. It just gets sent back maybe to Korea, so on and so forth. But there's so many times, and that's so concerning to me that you have a church that's making people sign NDAs. You have a church that is literally sucking people practically dry of money, especially in difficult situations. And then on top of that, all these excess offerings for this or that, which we had multiple times a month. I don't know if you guys did, but multiple times a month we had other offerings outside of tithe and offering and outside
Mm-hmm.
feast offerings for just random things.
Yeah.
And when you add all that up and there's no transparency with it, it's very concerning for me because we don't know where the money's going. And I find it very funny when we watch that NBC video with Ronan Farrow and John Powers, and Ronan Farrow asks him, "Do you know where the money goes?" And you know what he says? Because Ronan Farrow's like, does it get sent back to Korea? And the overseer, think how
Mm.
concerning this is if you went to just any church in the world. Like, take
Yeah.
yourself outside of WMSCOG, if there's any WMSCOG members watching. Imagine you're sitting in a pew of another church and you have your overseer say, yeah, you guys are giving us all this money and it's required, but guess what? Me as a leader of the church, I don't even know where it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so me as a member is like, okay, is it going to you? Because I don't want to give you money if I don't know where it's going. And the
Right.
own overseer, Pastor John Powers, said, and he knew where it went. He knew it went to
He
Korea,
lied.
but he didn't. He lied. He straight up lied. Because even I know our tithe money goes to Korea. He lied about that. And I think because he knew the news might have tracked down how they're transferring it to Korea through
Mhm.
these LLCs and things like Big Shine. And I
Yeah.
thought, he knew he didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, and it was so concerning to me. You
So
put the
keep
you put the accountants in place. You're the one that picks the accountants, and if you don't know where the money's going, how do you know you don't have a corrupt accountant that's just been taking all the money? How
right.
am I supposed to trust you as my leader or overseer if you can't even tell me at least what continent, what
Right.
church or bank account this money's going to? That is
Right.
so concerning.
Right. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Keep in mind that was Pastor John Power, right? And a missionary. He was an overseer, but a missionary Jonathan explained to me in detail about the offerings. He said all the blue offering, the blue offering envelopes. He said
Church
that
rent,
those
power,
those
insurance.
stay. What's that?
Oh yeah, the church rent, the power to keep the churches running in that area.
Yeah, the blue envelopes. They would use those blue envelopes to keep the. I don't think you just mentioned. Yeah, keep the church running in that area, right? The local
Correct.
churches. So
This is correct, yeah.
they would all. So let's say there's the main church in Philadelphia, and then you got other branches. The offerings that go in those blue envelopes, they will all get collected within that branch, and then at the end of the Sabbath, they would all take it to the main temple. Then they combined it together, and then they divide it amongst the branches, like who needs it or whatever, and that's how they would distribute that offering. And then the green offering or the tithe envelope, the green envelope, and then also the brown envelope, I think
Korea.
goes to Korea. Yeah, it goes to Korea. It was explained to me like that because why? Because I'm a church leader and I have to explain it to other members. Members are curious. They ask questions. So how did an overseer missionary know that, but a pastor doesn't know that? Who is who, for those who don't know, right? And not he's above a missionary. So John Power being above a missionary answers like that, like, oh, I don't know. Like, that's weird. And why would you lie about that? If you know where it goes, you could just say, hey, like, I know where it goes, but I don't want to disclose that right now.
And I have two explanations. And again, I want to say this is my personal opinion, what I think, right?
Mhm.
Just because we're talking about money, finances, don't want to get sued, right?
Hmm.
We know it goes to Korea. They've told us it goes there.
Mm-hmm.
But the route that it goes to Korea, because I mean, like they're all under LLCs, each of the regions, and I know this at least. If they're so scared about admitting it goes to Korea, so either they're scared that they're saying it's going back to Korea and it's not staying in America because it might make them look bad, or secondly, there might be a form of money laundering taking place, which would be illegal. So these are the things, and that's why I want to say this is my opinion, what I think is maybe happening. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, those are the only two reasons I can plausibly think why they don't want to admit where the money's going and why he wants to say he doesn't know where the money's going.
Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick, because I just feel like Nathan brought up this good topic, and how did he start it off? He started off by showing a normal church, a transparent church, and what they do. And this is why it makes me upset when I'm reading their education and I see them with this victim mentality talking about they call us a cult and they group us with all these other groups. And it's like, but this is exactly why. That is why. Look at what you guys do. You guys are not transparent. You're not honest. And why not? Why not? Look, man, I don't care. Let's just call it what it is. A real church can put their paper up and say, this is what our expenses are this month. I dare the World Mission Society Church of God to just show 1 month of where the money goes to in Korea, what it's spent on.
Worldwide.
Let's see what it's gonna say. Car payment for Mama Chang's Mercedes Benz.
Yep.
A few expenses to Dubai. We had to go short term preaching over there. Send a few of the overseers who might be family over to Dubai. You know what I mean? We got General Pastor needed that new Gucci suit. That Armani, and obviously, right. It's funny, but at the same time, this is literally these are things that they will never dare to show you, because if they were being spent on nothing but holy things that God would spend the money on, there would be no need to keep it confidential.
Right.
But the fact that it doesn't, it just shows you once again the true colors of the World Mission Society Church of God.
Yep.
And it's sad. It really is sad, because for a church to lie to their members and call themselves the perfect truth and play the whole victim mentality and say that they're worried about your soul, it doesn't take that much digging to realize that the true motivation behind this entire organization is all done, in my opinion, because of the money, love of the money. You know what I mean? And it's the one thing that Jesus warned about in the Bible, which is very ironic. You know what I mean? You see Jesus saying, he was pretty much, homeless. He didn't have even anywhere to lay his head. And yet Zangyoja, silk pajamas, Jerusalem temple, you know what I mean? It's a mansion. And it just shows you the night and day difference between World Mission Society and a regular Christian church. But that being said, I don't know if you guys want to stay on this topic, or maybe we go into one thing that I wanted to mention, because some of the people wanted to hear about Annsahnghong's death. So I'll leave it up to you guys if you guys want to say anything else you guys got on the topic we're talking about.
I just got something really quick before we dive into it. I'll have to go just because I gotta go take care of something. But anyways, March 15th, I believe it is. Oklahoma City's having a blood drive. They didn't want me to go. So I'm going, but not for the blood drive. And Adam might be coming, and hopefully we can pick Edgar up on the way because it's not too far. And they're gonna have the news there. And I was hoping we'll go get some street tacos and stuff later. But hey, you want to come out, Edgar? We'll pick you up on the way. We can go do a little outreach outside of their
Oh,
blood drive.
only if I can sell my T-shirts on the stand,
Yes,
which
yeah, we're gonna have a World Messiah Church of God is a cult change my mind table, and then we're gonna have like the souvenirs, and they can buy your T-shirts there. Yeah,
yeah,
All the
because yeah,
merch.
and then we're gonna have a
I'm
donation box, but it's gonna be like donations, but we will not tell you where they're going.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, I just want
Well,
to make
Mitch,
sure.
You will not know.
You will not know where it's going. Okay. Well, hey, man, it was good talking to you guys. Thanks for letting me on. I mean, that's kind of all I have to say on that, my side of things. But yeah, like and subscribe to Cult Audit. Other than that, I'm out of here, guys. I gotta go
peace,
take care
brother.
of things. All right.
Everybody, go subscribe to Mitch's channel.
Appreciate it. Thank
Go
you.
show him some love, and I'll catch you on the other side, my brother. I'll talk to you later. Peace. All right, Clark.
Into it.
and then there was two. So let's let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to bring up this what I received, this information that I received from Korea about Annsahnghong's death. Okay, so I want to start off a little bit of context, because a question was asked about General Pastor and how he had the robes of Annsahnghong, right? And it's like, well, if he claims that Annsahnghong gave him those robes, and that Annsahnghong took a picture of him in his own robes and was like, here's the evidence that I gave them to you. And it's always like stuff like that makes me laugh. It's like, why couldn't he just like sign them off to you, or leave a letter, or take a picture with him actually handing them to you, right? Like anybody could take a picture and say, oh, I could say, you see that picture of me on Facebook or Instagram? Michael Jackson took that picture of me when I was at the beach, right? And anyone can say that.
Anyone can say that.
And for him to have like that intimate relationship with Annsahnghong, like they'll have you believe, you would think that there would be more evidence. But Annsahnghong has more pictures with other people than he ever does with, General Pastor. Wow. And I think that's saying a lot,
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, this kind of led to me talking to the elders and understanding a little bit more about, Annsahnghong's untimely death. Because as we know, he passed away in 1985, right? And he was predicting end of the world in 1988. And, again, that's part of the problems. He wasn't just predicting the end of the world, but that he would ascend alive with 144,000, right? So that's the point that we forgot to mention about when we were talking about these prophecies that were brought up in this education. So anyway, let's break down a little bit about what possibly, because when I heard this, I was like, man, this actually makes a lot of sense. What possibly could have led to Annsahnghong's death, right? Via stroke. It wasn't on a train ride to China. That's for sure. 100%. That never happened. That's another lie the World Mission Society told you. So anyway, 1983, missionary Suin left the church. Okay, why is that important? Because Suin, and I showed this in the video that I made about Suin, the truth about Suin. So anyone that hasn't checked that out, go check it out. I even show a picture that was taken, after the General Assembly of, the leaders of the Church of God Jesus Witnesses, and you see Suin there, right? And so why is it important that she left? Because she's not just some random lady that didn't do anything with the church, or she was just too busy trying to break in a father's bag. That's a lie. It was actually the other way around. They were partners. There was even alleged, like sexual behavior going on between them, but that's beside the fact. the most important part is that Annsahnghong, you could tell very clearly by examining his writings that he copied almost word for word out of Suin's books, God in the Flesh. So that's very important because that shows that Annsahnghong and Suin had a good relationship, good working relationship, and she was like a partner of his in the church. Okay, so when he left, when she left in 1983, that caused something big. According to the elders in Korea, 1/3 of the church left with Suin once she left the church. So just imagine Annsahnghong in his mind, right? Like he's trying to build this thing up, right? That's putting a lot of pressure on him. So according to the elders in Korea, the Seoul church at that time, which was, had Zanggyeoja and Jucho Kim, it was doing really good. They were bearing a lot of fruit. They were doing, they were able to convince people and bring people into the church. Meanwhile, where Annsahnghong was at, it was starting to diminish. They had just lost a third of the church,
right?
And so what Annsahnghong, what he would have to do is, when the church was not doing so good, he was focused on trying to get baptisms, trying to get, the people that were getting baptized, getting them baptized. Because at that time, he was the only one that had baptism authority. Okay. So he would go around, he would baptize. Well, Seoul was the only church that was producing all these fruits, right? So Annsahnghong was traveling regularly to Seoul from Busan in order to conduct these baptisms. When he would conduct these baptisms, hold these services over there, he would take his robe with him, right? Because he baptized in his robe. Well, if that's the only place that's producing fruit and everywhere else is kind of like, dimmed, what he decided to do is, instead of continuing to travel with his robe, he left his robe in Seoul. That way he didn't need to continue to travel with it. You know what I mean? And
right.
Exactly.
It's already there.
It's already there, and it makes perfect sense. But we'll get it. You make of that what you will. But the interesting thing happened after that fact. So in 1984, right, at Annsahnghong's last Passover, right? This is after Suin had left the church. The church had not yet fully recovered its members. Zanggyeoja gets on the phone and calls Annsahnghong. There was people around who heard this conversation being had. She calls Annsahnghong and tells him, "Teacher, there's a Presbyterian pastor by the name of," and I might butcher this, Gang, who was at that time had just joined the church in Seoul. And he was, according to according to the elders, he was telling Zanggyeoja, "I can help register this church in the Korean government," which is something that Annsahnghong was looking to do. So after that fact, he gets excited. He wants to go ahead and pull this off. So what he does is he goes to Seoul, Korea, right, and for the General Assembly in 1985. But it's not the regular General Assembly, because the General Assembly was held by all the elders, and it was in Busan, right? And all the leaders of the churches, the elders, they would come together and meet. But in 1985, in January, when they met in Seoul, Korea, it was only the Zanggyeoja and the members of the Seoul church, not the Busan church where Annsahnghong was located in, and where everyone would come for the normal General Assembly. So why wasn't everyone else invited? Because it wasn't an official General Assembly. It was Annsahnghong traveling to Seoul, Korea, for the sole purpose of meeting this Presbyterian pastor who had connections, and that was going to register the church for Annsahnghong to the Korean government. When Annsahnghong made the trip, Annsahnghong brought with him approximately around $2,000, which in those days, $2,000 was a lot of money. Okay, so he hands this money over to this man, Un Wangang, right? And for the purpose of with this money, you're going to register the church, this Presbyterian pastor. Well, after that happens, that man takes the money and leaves.
Wow.
He doesn't register the church. He just takes Annsahnghong's money, the church's, which was all the money he had accumulated from the church at that time, and he never does his thing. He just leaves. He's out of the picture. This, according to the elders, caused Annsahnghong so much stress. You could imagine. I mean, you just lost Suin a few years before that. Your number one evangelist, the person who gave you a lot of your prophecies. Then after that, you get word that finally something good is going to come out of it, right? You're going to get your church registered. You put all the money of the church together. You take it to this man. This man leaves with your money. Now you're broke. You have nothing. You've used all the church's money. A month later, he has his stroke. Now, for the members listening to this, you draw your own conclusion. I'm not saying this is what directly caused it. This is just what was told to me from the eyewitnesses. This is what actually happened. So Annsahnghong on February 25th, 1985, after the Bible study with the student group, he has the stroke. They actually took him to a nearby clinic. The members took him to a nearby clinic, but once they took him to the clinic said, we cannot do anything for him here. You need to take him to the main hospital. So they took him to the main hospital in Busan. And when he got to the Busan hospital, he was already no longer conscious and he passed away. That night, the elders began to call all the churches and let them know what was going on. Zhang and General Pastor showed up to the hospital. They showed up to the hospital and they entered the room. They talked to the doctor. And let me read what I got written down. So that night, Zhang and GP went and visited the hospital. They asked Un Wangang, who was 25, same age as General Pastor at that time, what was going on. He couldn't give them a reply. They talked to the doctor that came outside, and after they talked to the doctor, that conversation was not heard. But when Zhang got done talking to the doctor and she began to talk with General Pastor, this member, Un Wangang, no, I'm sorry. It was another member who was 25 years old. At that time, he was sitting outside keeping watch of Annsahnghong's hospital room, and he overheard Zhang Jia and General Pastor talk about how it was a problem that An had taught the members of the church that 144,000 were going to ascend in 1988. So why was that conversation being had by Zhang Jia and General Pastor? That's all he heard, right? And he made an emphasis to make sure not to go beyond what he heard. So he heard them talking about the problem of the ascension, the supposed ascension in 1988. After that fact, he passed away, right? Then Zhang Jia sends General Pastor to Busan. She sends General Pastor to Busan, and she remains by herself in attending Annsahnghong's funeral. So she was at Annsahnghong's funeral by herself. And that's pretty much the story that I heard. I'm going to get some more details, but I just thought that was something very interesting to hear from the people that were actually there.
Yeah.
And witness this, and even the conversations that were being had. And then once again, you hear this story, you even can look up Annsahnghong's death and where he was at the time and all that, and it's like, how did we go from this, from the eyewitness testimonies, what's been out, what's open documents, you know what I mean, public documents on the internet. You go from public documents and witness testimonies to World Mission Society saying he drove by in a train, he left in a train and ascended to heaven. How do you get to that? How do you get from this to he rode off in a train happy and just rode off into the sunset, ascended? And once again, it creates a problem for the World Mission Society Church of God, because yet again, they're caught in another lie, you know. So for the people that wanted to hear that is the story that I heard. I'm going to continue to get as much information as I can. And if you guys have any questions that you guys would like me to ask for you, please reach out to me. Please reach out to me if you guys are interested in getting AhnSahngHong's original books. Please reach out to me. These books are no longer that hard to receive, and I can definitely help you out with that. So get a hold of me, whatever you guys need. I'll do my best to help as many people as I can. Clark, you got anything to add to that, brother?
No, I just want to mention that, like, when you just listening to, you go through the story, from this eyewitness, you can see it's like they're just tampering with stuff, right? They're tampering with, as I mentioned, last month, there's too many moving parts going on, right? Too many things going on there. You hear that they were at the hospital and the situation about the 144,000 came up. Like, it's like, this is crazy. And then one third of members left AhnSahngHong's church after Amsuin. They don't tell you those things, right? They just tell you that Amsuin is just a random woman who went into AhnSahngHong's bag, and then they don't tell you that she was like someone in the church actually who played a big role, a big part. This woman gave, your so-called root of David his work, his info, all that information. Like, she wrote that book.
Yeah.
So like, when you think, yeah,
he's more like the branch of David, and she's more like the root of David.
Exactly. So it's like, man, like, they really kind of like watered her down in the whole equation when it comes to, that, whenever she comes up, she's always like watered down, and like almost as if she didn't really, like, almost as if she only existed for that moment.
Yeah.
Right. Like, not like, oh yeah, she was a member. They don't even tell you she was a member.
Yeah. And again, it's because they won't tell you that, because like you said, the moment that they do, you're gonna look into her, you're gonna see her books, and you're gonna be like, wait a second, so she was the one that wrote all this. She was testifying to the truth before AhnSahngHong even had any idea and had even thought about putting these sermons together. And it's so crazy to me. And for the people that are like, there's no way she took 1/3 of the members of the church. That happens in every cult. Look at Daniel Park right now. You're seeing that in you know what I mean? And Daniel Park wasn't even a fraction of what Amsuin was.
Wow.
Because AhnSahngHong never copied from, Daniel Park. AhnSahngHong never copied from anyone else other than Amsuin when it came to the theology that the World Mission Society Church of God teaches, like Melchizedek and King David and all this. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead, Clark.
I remember when before I left my I was asking questions and I was starting to doubt. I remember my overseer, missionary Jonathan Charles, had asked me, why all of a sudden now? Like, why all of a sudden now you're like questioning these things? You never questioned them before. To answer that question clearly, and also to answer for anyone else that he may ask, or anyone else that he may say this to in a larger setting, this is why now, because before, you guys didn't come up front with all this information in the first place, and now it's being disclosed to me. I never knew these things. That's why now, right? Before, you guys didn't come up front and be honest and say, hey, look, this AhnSahngHong woman was a part of the church. She also wrote a book, for Annsahnghong or whatever, or she wrote a book in Annsahnghong. You guys didn't mention these things. And the reason why now is because it's just now being shown to me and exposed to me. So same, if he says the same thing in a larger setting, or even if any church leader says, oh, all this time you've been in here for this long, why now? Yeah, why now? Because they didn't know about it in the first place. They didn't know about this 10, 20 years ago. But now it's starting to come out. That's why, guys. That's why we're it's different, because we all the information was held back from us.
Yeah. And again, what is wrong with questioning? What is wrong with
Exactly.
questioning? The Berean Jews question, and again, this was a point that was mentioned in the education, is where they were frowning upon people asking questions. They were frowning on people watching these videos on the internet. And so what they are saying, the message is clear. You can only watch World Mission Society Church of God content. You can only study World Mission Society Church of God content. You can only stick to our script. You can only trust our people. And I say that's a red flag.
Yep.
That's a red flag.
Absolutely.
Anywhere else, try that anywhere else in the world, and it doesn't have to even have to do with religion. You would be like, man, that's a red flag. They're trying to control the information. Of course, if you're only hearing one side of the story, of course it's going to make sense to you because you're not hearing the other side. Right. I've repeated this multiple times, time and time again. Jesus said, go out and see and ask who they say the Son of Man is. He wasn't afraid. The Berean Jews, when they were investigating what Paul was saying, Paul wasn't afraid. Right. And that's the difference between the World Mission Society Church of God and everywhere else. So when they say, why do you call us a cult? Why do you group us like this? Because you behave like a cult. Yep. You act like a cult. You withhold information like a cult. That is why you're a cult. You fit the description.
Right. Perfectly. Exactly.
So, that being said, I think today it was a pretty good live. Clark, you got any last words, or you just want to wrap it up?
No, that's it, guys. Same thing. I just want to mention, just read your Bibles, go into, read the context and everything, and stay close to the Bible. We can talk about this cult all day, but at the end of the day, the reason why you're there is because you want to go to heaven, right? The reason why you're there is because you want to receive salvation, right? Read your Bible and really look at what it's saying, and like I mentioned, before, Galatians 4:26, read from Galatians 1, and then go all the way up to chapter 4, and then comprehend or summarize what you just read. Summarize what you just read after reading. So read Galatians 1-4, and then see if it comes to a conclusion, or see if it makes sense for the conclusion to be that there's a God, the Mother, that Apostle Paul wants to introduce to you or tell you about. Because when you read it, it doesn't make sense. And do that with everything that they try to, enforce in that church. King David, all those things, right? Did God really mention about their, Jesus having to, be baptized at the age of 30 and preach for 40 years? And no, those things are just thrown in there, and they make it something. They're making problems so that way, they can grab your attention, and then they try to throw a solution at you. That solution is not even they don't even fulfill it, right? Yeah. They're saying Annsahnghong fulfilled the prophecy of King David, but if that was a real prophecy, Annsahnghong did not really fulfill it, right? If it was something real, but it's not even a real prophecy. They're just playing with numbers, something that they knocked Daniel Park for, but where did he get that from? Where did he get these playing with numbers from? He got it from you guys. He got it from the church that he was in. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, man. all of their prophecies can be chopped down from the roots because they're not prophecies to begin with, you know. And again, it's just it speaks to the, you know, it just really speaks to how scared this place is, you know what I mean? Like they don't want you hearing the other side of the story, you know what I mean? And again, that's just not honest. That's not how life works. I mean, try that with your partner, you know what I mean? Like, let me look at your phone, I can have access to everything, but you can't look over here. I don't want you keeping tabs on me. I don't want you texting me. You can't look at my phone. You can't look at my dating apps. You can't look at none of this, right? What's the other person? And why? Because I love you. I'm doing this out of love for you, for your better, for your own good. I mean, how would that work? You know what I mean?
It's like, wow, this relationship is not fair at all.
It's like, try it. And then when you have a purple eye, email me the picture so that I can show the results on YouTube. Because honestly, that's what would happen in that situation. Only the World Mission Society get away with stuff like this. You know, it's crazy. Narcissistic behavior.
But and the members look at it like it's normal too. Like they look at it like it's normal, and you gotta stop like trying to stick up for them and try to cover their faults. You don't have to cover their faults. They messed up, right? If they make a mistake and you see there's some holes, ask the question about that. Don't just try to cover it up for them and you don't even really understand the whole thing yourself.
Right.
Like, yeah, so anyway, I can go all night.
Facts, man, facts. And we're gonna do this again. There's some more things that I want to, you know, get off my chest, but obviously I got to get my throat right first. So everybody, thank you guys for staying tuned, and to all the guests, the panel of guests that showed up and showed out and, you know, did their thing. I appreciate you guys and everybody, you know, on the comment section. I love to see all you guys there. You guys make it all worth it. I even saw a lot of text comments in Spanish, and you know, I haven't forgotten about you guys. Toda mi gente que está escuchando y viendo estos videos, yo miré sus comentarios y voy a hacer lo posible para tratar de sacar más contenido en español. Nomás sean pacientes, pero me pueden mandar un correo electrónico y yo voy a tratar de comunicarme con ustedes. Si tienen preguntas, yo estoy disponible a todos tiempos. Cuídense mucho. So yeah, that being said, man, just want to encourage everybody that watched this, you know, and if you guys have questions, you know, comments or anything, feel free to reach out. Even if you guys have an idea of what you guys want me to talk about next on the next live, or even for a you know, video, me and Clark got some stuff cooking up as well. So just everybody, thank you for you know, rocking with us, and you know, and until next time, thanks for watching another episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG.